Welcome to another episode of Let's Get Growing Live, and you're in the garden with NBC right now. Guess where we are? We're on the rooftop of Noble Rot Restaurant, where I am the rooftop gardener. And today I want to focus on what you should have sort of stocking the pantry to be ready for the season. You know, spring is coming, spring is variable across the country. Even in our region, we'll have like 3 days that feel like spring, 5 days that feel like winter, a week that feels like spring, 3 days to winter, back and forth, back and forth. But you want to be ready for whatever bursts, whatever windows nature gives you. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the stuff that I have stocked, ready to go at all times. And that just allows me to respond quickly when I need to. I'm ready for anything. So first thing is, I have a number of different seeds. Whatever I'm planting, especially outside in direct seeding, I have a good quantity of various seeds. This is a really lovely frilly green mustard called wasabina. Plant a lot of that. This is some chervil that I'm planting in the spring and we'll plant again in the fall. Important thing about seeds is you want to keep them out of the sun, and you want them in a waterproof, the sun and heat I should say, and in a waterproof airtight container. So here I have a mason jar with a rubber sealing lid, and this packet comes with its own Ziploc. These are both kept in a plastic bin, and the bin is kept in the shade. So really important to keep your seeds in good condition, and the two things that will get seeds every time, they get them growing and they also reduce their lifespan, is heat and moisture. So if you want your seeds to germinate, give them heat and moisture. If you want them not to germinate and to stay viable for as long as you can, take them out of the heat, get them dry. So have your seeds stocked and ready to go, whatever you want to seed en masse. I keep other things in the grow room that I showed you a couple of weeks ago. And those kind of things are the stuff that I'm planting in pots and for transplant out. But I also do a lot of direct seeding, and that's all kept right up here. One thing to go along with seeds, especially legume seeds, peas and beans, is this stuff called inoculant, garden inoculant. It's a black powder, and you just dust it on peas and beans. You can do other things. There's various inoculants for various things, but most people plant peas, beans, and fava beans in that legume family, and there's usually a general pea bean inoculant that you can get at your garden store or special order. Make sure you have enough of that. Again, keep that out of light and heat, and that's usually got a 1 year time span. In addition to my seeds, I have a variety of fertilizers. So for example, here I've got some fish bone meal. This is high in phosphorus, and so that's going to be for my spring plantings of peas. And later on, I'll probably use that for peppers and for other fruiting and flowering crops. So that's going to emphasize fruiting and flowering. Here I have some bat guano. You can't really see this, but this is high in nitrogen, soluble nitrogen. So that's going to be great for early season greens. And then I have a basic all-purpose fertilizer that I use that has the numbers 322. So basically balance between the three major nutrients. The numbers refer to nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, 322. So that's kind of a balanced fertilizer, where something like fish bone meal, you can see it's heavily weighted toward the phosphorus, has no potassium, and much less nitrogen. So sometimes I'm looking for a particular targeted kind of fertilizer. Sometimes I'm looking for something all-purpose. I make sure I have all of it in stock, ready to go. Another thing I keep on hand, especially in the spring and fall, is some liquid fertilizer. Again, you'll see the numbers here, 402. That's signaling us that that's got a lot of nitrogen compared with anything else. No phosphorus, actually 402, some potassium, and that's going to stimulate green leafy growth. So in the springtime, I want to get a quick boost. I want to give my plants something that's soluble, already liquefied, ready to go, that they can take and just start growing. So I make sure I have some liquid fertilizer, and I'm supplementing with liquid fertilizer. As the temperatures warm up, not always as important, unless I have a plant in a container that's hard to keep fertilizing it in terms of in the soil or top dressing. I may want to keep giving that certain kinds of liquid fertilizer. Some peppers, for example, I'll switch to a phosphorus liquid fertilizer. So after the initial fertilizer that I mixed into the pot has worn off, I'm going to keep supplementing in August to keep those peppers pumping out all the way into the fall. There's always going to be pests. You want to be ready for them. One of our biggest ones is slugs. So I have some Sluggo here. This is Sluggo Plus. We've had some problems with pill bugs, and so this also deals with pill bugs. This is basically iron phosphate. It does have some spinosad to kill some of the other stuff. It's listed under Omri Organics. Iron phosphate is fairly neutral. Spinosad is an insecticide. It will kill other beneficials. Just be aware of that. There's just a basic Sluggo you can get that has iron phosphate that's good for slugs and snails. But we want to have some things around to protect our crops. There's nothing worse than putting out a beautiful planting of transplants and then watching them get ravaged by those little buggers. And so trying to keep that off, I usually do a preventative distribution early in the spring. I find as the summer goes on, it's not as much of a problem. As things warm up and dry up here in the Pacific Northwest, the slugs aren't as much of a problem, but they can be ferocious in the spring. Let's talk about some of the ways I keep track of my crops. Last couple of years, I've been buying these thin wooden stakes. I get them from a company called A.M. Leonard. This year I got them painted. Last year I got the plain wood. I noticed that because it was pretty thin, they rot fast. Sometimes I go to some place like a big box store and just get a bundle of lath that I will cut and sand. That's very thick and it lasts many seasons. This year I'm going to try the painted things for convenience. I got a whole box of them. There's a couple of hundred in there. I also have upgraded to a Nursery Marker from my usual just Sharpie. My Sharpie was fading in the sun. I was noticing it didn't last the whole season. So this Nursery Marker promises not to fade. So I've got the supplies that I need to mark what I've planted. So important. I mark the date. I mark the kind of crop and the variety name. I mark the seed source and the year. That way I can tell what's going on. I can trace things back. If I'm using some older seed that I'm just testing out, I may realize, yeah, that didn't make the grade. It's not germinating. I know why. It just gives me the information that I need. Up here at Noble Rot, I'm also communicating with chefs. I want to let them know what's planted, so I want to make sure they see it clearly. That way they can communicate to the staff in the kitchen and also to the patrons, like what exactly they're eating. Everybody wants to know that, right? Anyway, good marking in the field really helps with record keeping. So get yourself set up before the season so you're not scrambling at the moment. I've got some stuff for support. Of course, as our vegetables start to grow, even our flowers, they're gonna need some support. Here at Noble Rot, we have a lot of wind. So oftentimes I need some extra stuff. So I have a lot of twine on hand. And then I've been buying some 3-foot bamboo stakes already made, already cut. These are, I forget what diameter, but small, thin. You can get all different kinds, all different sorts. I recommend investing in some of this stuff, having it at the ready, because there's nothing like getting to the point in the season when you realize your crops have outgrown whatever little initial support you gave them and they're about to topple over, or you come out one morning and your glorious peas, your snap peas or your snow peas that looked so wonderful the day before have overloaded and just fallen in. Your pole beans, whatever it is, have collapsed. You want to try to have all your trellising material at the ready so that you are ready for it ahead of time. You're taking advance action. Some of this stuff you're putting in right as you're planting, or as it matures a little bit, maybe you have a cover over it, you remove the cover and boom, you've got your materials in. So this is the kind of just what I call stocking the pantry that I think is so important to prepare yourself for a great and successful season. Go through, I know everybody's in a different region, everybody's kind of got a different gardening system, but go through and think through what's going to be coming up in your garden year. What's coming up that, what didn't go well last year? What do you need to make sure is in place right now at the very beginning of the season, so that as things start to unfold, we're gonna be busy. We're gonna be crazy busy and we're gonna love it, but we don't want to be missing important things. We don't want to be risking the development of our crops because we didn't think something through. So get it done now, stock your pantry, and hey, have a great season. I wish you a great growing season. We'll see you next week on In the Garden with NBC. I'm gonna give you guys a little panorama here of the view from Noble Rot. There's some old fennel still hanging out. Beautiful spring day today here in Portland, Oregon. We're on Portland's east side. Great view of the city on a clear day. What a lovely place to work and garden. A rooftop garden is an amazing thing. Convention Center, Fremont Bridge, our gigantic forest park there, that forested area. Big Pink, our signature skyscraper downtown. You really get to see it all. I love standing up here on a lovely day and watching the traffic on the freeway and realizing I'm not in that. I'm standing up here and I'm feeling great. I'm not stuck in traffic. I'm enjoying the best of urban life. Anyway, here it is, In the Garden with NBC at Noble Rot.